Hey there, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daycheck with Queen Bee Creations, and we still have some Christmas to do. So I've got 3 different projects. All are pretty easy, but they were all things that I had in my head that I wanted to try. So first up, easiest one. I had thrifted this bag of cooking molds, right? So cool. These are old vintage molds. Look at this guy. And this one. Oh, we already did that one. This one. And then they had these little mini, a mess of these little mini bunt pans. I mean, there's also this other little tulip one, but I'm going to save him for something else. And I keep thinking that would make a really cute Easter egg and chocolate. So we may have to do something like that. Just saying. All right, so those are going off to the side now. We're going to use these. Here's my plan. I want to use these, each of these. Move him out of the way. He's for later. He's blocking the sight line. I'm going to use them this way. And this one already has a hole that we can use. These ones do not. They're for baking. They're not supposed to have holes, but we need to put holes in them. So I'm going to go get my metal drill bit and my drill, and I'll be right back because that's our first step. So I have my drill. These are just tin, so they are not going to be hard to drill. I'm just going to roughly center them, and that's it. We're through. Okay, done. I quite like these in this silver, and you could just leave them. You could paint them if you want to, whatever color you want. But I like it with this color. I'm just going to actually add a little bit more metallic. I have gilding wax. This happens to be any Sloan. You could use a Rub and Buff product or any gilding wax of your choice. And I'm just going to use it just on my finger, but for a little bit of the edges. I just want to add a little bit of extra. You know me, can't leave well enough alone. I just want to add a little extra hint of color. Just here and there. Just kind of hit it out a bit. So I think that you can see a little bit of that gold happening. So we've still got the tin look. We've just got a little bit of the gold swipes. It's a little bit delicate right now. It would just all wipe off. But as it sits, it will firm up. So cute, cute, cute little tins. Here's what we're going to do. I have a set of these little bottle brush trees. All 3 are slightly different size from the dollar store. And we're just going to twist off the base, which takes no work at all. And we are going to, which one do I want to put you in? He's the big one. Okay, I'm going to put him in the step. And what I'm going to do is do, you're such a stupid glue gun. All right, so I'm going to put a little dab here, just right at the hole. Stick my tree through the hole, and I'm just going to flip it, and I'm going to put a much bigger dab of glue on the reverse side here. And I'm going to hold it this way while it dries because the trees are bendy, right? Bendy, good word. But because they can maneuver, I'm not so worried. And as soon as my glue dries enough that it's not going to be dripping out of there, I can flip that over. So I'm going to do the 3 of these small ones this way, just, you know what? Because I had a mess of bottle brush trees. And I think that they are cute. You know, I've seen people doing them in you know, wooden doorknobs and that kind of thing. But when I found these tins. I thought it's a super cool way because there are always some kind of, you know, old cooking tin or something like that that is kind of out at the thrift stores. So let's get these 3 done. And then for, oh, that was a little more stubborn. For the bigger one, our little mini bunk pan, because it's got a much bigger hole. There we go. Okay, stop dripping. There we go. Oops. Thread. Now this has a much bigger hole. So what I'm going to use instead of a bottle brush tree is I had thrifted, you know, like when you go to the thrift store and they've got boxes of Christmas trees, but they're incomplete. And so you end up with just all of the pieces. You don't really have the body. So I take those because I can cut them apart and I can use all this greenery, or in this case, this was a big branch. Now they are on really heavy duty wire that I can't cut through. But what I did do by standing on it against the concrete floor was I bent it up. So it can now, I can kind of squeeze that down in there. I'm gonna add a bit of hot glue around the edges. I think once I sort of jam it in, it's gonna be stuck in there anyway, but I'm gonna kind of jam it down in because then I can kind of decorate up the base of this how I would like, right? But I get to then zhuzh these leaves out, the branches, not really leaves, it's a fir tree, but I get to zhuzh this out and decorate that up how I will. The other option that you have, you know, because these are meant to be branches and not necessarily a tree, is that I can go in and I can prune it back. So if this is a little more bush-like, if I wanted it to be a little more tree-like, I can take my cutters in. Oh, these are tough wires. Okay, I need my bigger cutters. And I can start trimming. And then these pieces, I can start adding back in if I would like to fill it out a little bit. To help this little guy look a little nicer, we're gonna flock it. And that just tends to make it look just a little ritzier, actually. So let me just angle a few branches out so they can catch the snow, our flocking snow. And flocking is really pretty easy. It's messy, but it's easy. I'm just going to show you briefly. Okay, so I'm ultimately going to put a mask on. I'm just going to show you roughly what happens with this. So you get a flocking powder. So you're going to need like a spoon or a scoop for this, and some kind of a little sieve, right? So that you can add it on nice and lightly. And because this is a powder, it kind of drifts. So that's where the mask kicks in, especially if you've got breathing issues. But what you want to do, let me move this out of the way, is you want to wet the surface that you want to flock. So it gives the powder, the dust, something to catch on to. And then after we dust it, we're just going to spritz it again and then let it dry. And that second spritzing kind of anchors it on. So, you know, you're just going to start shaking it down on and coating it as heavily as you want on your surfaces until it's how you like it. Okay, and I'm gonna set this off to the side to dry, because if I'm going to do anything else to it, then I need it to be dry. But it also gives me time to decide if I want to do anything else to it, because it really depends upon how you want to use these. If you want to use them as kind of like a bit of a vignette of a bunch of different trees together, you may not want to have all kinds of decorations all over it. Sometimes you just want the trees to look like fir trees and not like a Christmas tree, right? You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna put that off to the side to dry. I'm gonna roll my bag up and get that out of the way, and I'll just use my mask to dust my work table off. And one of the next projects that I want to do requires some painting. So I just want to get that painting started. And because I have it open, the green I'm going to use is bayberry. Now I'm going to kind of cover up most of this, but I expect that it's not going to be completely covered, in which case I just want to have my paint on there. Oh, there's a better brush. Covering my surface so that when I'm adding some of my greenery, I don't have the orange showing through. So this is just, again, I thrifted this. It's a banana stand, right? Where you hang your bunch of bananas here. And I haven't decided if I'm leaving the hook or if I'm gonna take it out, but it unscrews easily, so we're not gonna worry about it yet. I'm gonna do the rest of the stuff and then decide. So, because my bayberry is by Fusion, which means that it's got a built-in top coat, I do put a plastic bag over it so that I have it double sealed. And that just prevents, I mean, certainly from my paint drying out, but actually what I'm preventing is from my lid sealing to my jar. So I'm just gonna get 2 quick coats of this on. It dries pretty quickly, but I'm at the end of my day now, so probably will carry on with this tomorrow, but we're just getting it all green. Nothing major. Our banana stand has dried. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to cover this part up. And I'm going to do that by just taking little stalks of greenery. Use whatever you've got. These happen to be from an old Christmas tree that I've taken apart, and I've unwrapped all the branches, so I have little stems. I'm going to start up here so that I can overlap going down. And because I'm not sure if I'll do all sides or not, which is why I painted it green, just in case, right? And I just want to get the length right, and then I can glue down the top. But the idea is I kind of want this to look like a green branch, and then we can use the hook, if I keep the hook, to hang a favorite ornament. I'm thinking yes, because otherwise then I have to either find a smaller hook or I have to glue a string in and make the ornament kind of a permanent fixture. And I like the idea of having this, that maybe you're someone that collects a special ornament annually, in which case this could showcase your special ornament that year, and then following years it makes its way onto your tree, and this makes room for the next year's special ornament. I like that. So that's my plan, that's my thought process anyway. And I don't think that these little stands are particularly hard to find, because I think that people buy them thinking they're going to hang their bananas, and then they don't hang their bananas. So they thrift them, give them away. So I'm going to come back when I've got all of this glued, because you don't need to watch glue drying, which is all that's happening right now. And then we'll carry on with the rest of the decorating and the rest of the plan. Now that I'm thinking that I'm going to keep this, I'm going to make it gold. So I may just unscrew it to make my life easier, and go get it. Oh my goodness, that's longer than I thought. And I'll go get it gold because right now it's pretty tarnished, and we want it looking a little spiffier and a little bit newer. All right, I spray painted this gold, but you could use Rub and Buff or any product like that, any kind of gilding wax. I went with gold. Certainly you could go with silver, whatever metallic kind of fits with, you know, whatever ornaments you're most likely to hang from there, that would work. Now, I was originally thinking that because I did this gold, I would maybe do this blingy. I decided not to. I decided that, in fact, the ornament is the blingy piece. That's the star of the show. So what I want to do instead, and you can see that I've coated the whole thing in the branches, which took 8 of the size I used, but it's really going to depend upon the size of your hanger, right? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to do the typical acorns and I have little monochromatic berries rather than red. And I have some greenery picks that have a little bit of sparkle to them. So I want to add just another textural element to the sides, right? That I can kind of pop this in, have a little bit here and there. I mean, it's not going to go the whole way, but just so that we have something that's a little bit texturally different and a little bit visually different than just this one big green branch. So all that remains really is to play with it a little bit and sort of tuck things in and around where I think maybe they might go. And I like to kind of lay it out and then glue it in, right? So that I'm not trying to unglue things if I change my mind, or if I decide that I need to find something else to work, right? So I don't have a lot of these. I might see if I can find more of those, because I would like something to kind of tuck up in here, right? That's not huge. I had like gold jingle bells and yikes. It's just gonna be too brassy. It's gonna be too much. And again, I want the star of the show to be this. So I may steal a few of these little white coated pine cones to fit in, to add a little bit here and there. So that's the plan. And we're just gonna kind of glue it. I'm gonna leave a lot of the base plain, which is why we painted it green. And again, you know, this isn't necessarily perfect coverage with the branches, but you don't know because the base is green. So I'm just gonna, you know, stick some things some places and see how it looks and add elements if and where I need them, and go looking for other elements if I don't have enough. You know, it's always the hunt. See, I'm looking at my pile over here, which is massive. It's sitting about here with all kinds of florals. It's just Christmas piled on top of fall, which has probably got some summer underneath there too. So I would clean it, but I don't have a place to put it.
I had a studio mishap where that blue paint that you see me using, I kind of knocked it over and bumped over my camera and I lost some footage. So let me back up and explain what exactly is going on. What you see me painting with Seaside, a fusion color paint, is actually just a plastic ornament from the dollar store. So obviously an oversized one that was all gold that I glued into one of those mini bunt pans like I had used for the greenery tree previously. And once the glue was dried, I just hot glued it in. I am just painting it ultimately in 2 coats of the Seaside, and then we'll be able to carry on. And apart from that, I managed to get all the paint up off the floor. Fusion will clean up with water if it's still wet. Probably not from your carpet, but my floors luckily are just plain concrete. So no damage was done, but it was a bit of a pain.
Okay, for this next one, I have thrifted this metal tray, right? So it's just a galvanized metal. It's got some little embossed detail on it. So I want to zhuzh it up a little bit. I haven't used the metallic bronze color from Fusion, so we're going to do that because that strikes me as fun. So what I do have over here is I just have a little bit of plastic wrap because I want to do some dry brushing. I don't want to have my paintbrush too covered. Now, I'm not going to worry so much about the center because I'm going to be covering that up. But I wanted kind of an aged look to this without, and I wanted the details highlighted, but I don't mind some of the tin and I don't want it to be all totally metallic, although I'm looking at it and I'm starting to get other ideas here. Oh, that always happens. I think I know what I'm doing, and then I end up kind of going in a different direction. Okay, let's carry on with this first, and then we'll see if I switch. Just as I'm doing this, what I am looking at, and I'm thinking, maybe I want to paint this a bunch of coats of the bronze and then do some black wax detailing so that I said the word antiquing and it kind of stuck in my head. So let's just go there, you know? So now I can do more paint on my brush. So I'm doing a heavier coat. And then we'll put this off to the side to dry. I will likely have to do a couple of coats. This coat is kind of sticking, right? And then the next coat would give me better coverage. And then we'll be able to do some black waxing. But I have another item for this. This is going to be kind of like a winter vignette, a little winter scene all of its own is my thought. Because not only did I thrift this tray, but I thrifted this deer. And I'm gonna marry the two together. That's my plan. That's my thinking. So let's get a bit of paint on this. By the time that I'm done with the deer, I'll be able to get some more on, I'm sure. So that's the start. I need a place to dry you. You were going on the floor. Because I've cleaned up the blue. All right. See, look, thrifted at $3.50. Let me get rid of my thrift tag here. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's very satisfying when it comes off in one piece. Okay, so originally I was thinking of dry brushing this and not having it fully coated in paint. This has already got, like it's got some texture to it, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is stick with that plan, see how the black waxing goes on a plate, and then I may end up adding a bit of black wax to this. Because this is Fusion, this is self-sealed, this paint, right? So I'm not gonna have to worry about the black wax sinking into it. I'm gonna be able to wipe excess away, but you can see that I'm using very little paint and just kind of making sure that it kind of hits all those highs with the idea that when I do black wax, it's going to hit the lows. While I'm waiting for my bronze coat, my second coat, which looks awesome, to dry, I wanted to deal with a couple of the other little components of this. So I'm going to be using this little tree. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have it so you can see this, but it's got some of that fake snow in it. So I wanted to add a little bit of fake snow to some of the other components so it wasn't the only thing with snow and looked weird. So I have some artificial spray. I'm going to take it to the back and just zhuzh up a couple of things with this so that I can tuck them in here and there so that we've got some of those white accents. And then we'll deal with this once this is dry. For this one, I'm not sure how invested I am in this. So rather than break out paint and a brush and drive myself crazy, I'm just taking a gold metallic marker. And I'm going to give it a go. So here, I'm just assuming the trick is to try and have a relatively steady hand. And I'm not sure why I thought that I would be better with a marker than with a paintbrush. But it seems to be working. So the idea with this is just, you know what? Go nice and slow, and I think I better go wider in the base than that because I don't have a lot of real estate at the top. And you get to just do whatever the heck you want to do, right? So stripes and circles and swirls and whatever. I'm kind of at the end of my day. So I'm not going to get this project finished today. Finish it tomorrow, teaching class, but after the class, should be able to get it done. It's all the same to you. It'll be in the same video. You don't get a break. So with this, what I want to do beforehand, it gives the wax a chance to dry, and also my little snow objects are still a little bit damp where I went a little heavy on some of them. So I have a big honkin' can of black wax from Annie Sloan from 8 years ago, and I don't use it that fast. So all I'm looking at doing is putting some of the black wax on some of these details and then wiping it back so that I get a little bit of highlighting, but nothing major, right? That I just want it to just sort of antique it a little bit. You can see the difference here versus here. That's it. When it comes to my dear, who already is, you know, kind of lighter because I just kind of not airbrushed him, dry brushed him. Two different things. I'm just looking to darken some of the creases and, you know, where the joints are and the hooves, that kind of thing. So, you know, I'll do a little bit here and there on it, but nothing major because I quite like him as he is. He's got a lot of detail. So I'm just going to get those guys done and let them dry as the snow is drying. And then tomorrow after my class is over, I will finish this guy off. Our plate turned out awesome. Now, I'll tell you, the inspiration behind this particular craft, thrift, flip, whatever you want to call it, was really this figurine. I get people that pick these up, whether from their local craft store, from you know, similar, maybe in plastic from the dollar store. But often, apart from the how do I paint it, it's the what do I do with it? A fairly easy decision if you have a mantle, right? You know, if you're doing up your mantle for Christmas, then you're putting your greenery across the top. You're able to nestle, you know, figurines like this in there amongst, you know, any of the other objects that you're adding in, right? Certainly if you were doing a whole display across a buffet or a side table or credenza, you can do the same thing. But people that have smaller spaces often are saying, well, you know, I'd love something like that, but I don't have the space. And that's where using something like a cutting board or a platter and creating your vignette on that becomes extremely practical because it's movable. It can go on a little coffee table until you need to be putting dips and snacks, and then you can move it over to a side table. You can, right? It's movable. So it makes it extremely flexible what you need to do. Now, before I add any of the greenery that's going to go where I didn't bother to paint, I do want to attach this in some of the bigger objects, and then I'll put some of the greenery around it. So the basic idea and a couple of the bigger objects that we have are, oh, let me reach. We had this guy. As I was spray painting some of the other things with snow, I did the base as well. So if any of it shows, then it's going to look white. It's going to be fine. And I have this really large pine cone. So my thinking is that those will be our main items. We'll put those in behind. They kind of fill. And then we've got an assortment of, whoa, avalanche over here, of other pine cones. Some that we did white, some that we didn't. So we'll include those. We've got a host of other greenery that we can incorporate, and we'll just fill in the rest of the space. But in essence, this is what happens. Now, you could, if you don't want to anchor this down, if you were doing this for yourself, you could just lay everything out on top, and you could just nestle things in where you want, and then at the end of the season, take them off, pack them away in bags, and you're fine. Because I'm doing this for the store, people don't want to take it apart. They want it to look like this. That's why they got it. So I need to glue things down. But you have the option, if you're doing it for yourself, not to, right? To just kind of leave them loose, and you can switch up the decoration, the decor, the look of it, the layout anytime you want. So, you know, if this pine cone gets bashed up, well, then you can just include other little trees and greenery next year. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to get this one glued up, and then I think we'll take a look at what we've got going here. Well, when I went to edit this video, I found out that my outro was deleted. Or probably, I thought I hit record and didn't. So as much as even now I'm sort of talking to myself because you're not actually there yet, I always feel worse when the camera's not even recording, because then I truly am talking to myself. And hopefully that doesn't happen too much. Otherwise, I'm going to start to feel that maybe I'm not recording on purpose, and I don't know who I think I'm talking to then. Let's take a look at our projects. So we started off by doing some little bottle brushes and putting them into these little vintage baking tins. And I love these. I think that they are so cute. I mean, obviously, you could paint them up. I like them in the metallic, but you can certainly change that look out depending upon your decor. We did the one in the little mini bundt pan with the much larger tree that we cut down. This one I flocked, and all I did was I added some little red apples You could leave it alone. You could add mini baubles. You could add little gold bells. I mean, whatever's working for your decor. I kept it pretty neutral so that it could fit into pretty much any decor, period. We then took, and I may be out of order, but you know, there were 4 projects. I wasn't anticipating this one, but I found that oversized ornament at the dollar store and I figured it would fit into another one of those little bunt pans. And then we just simply painted it. I painted it in the all-in-one paint from Fusion, and I just took a gold marker and created designs all over it. I think that this would be super cute to do a bunch of shapes and have a whole grouping of them. So you've got some of the big, large, kind of lantern shaped ones, and you could pick colors that work for you, like navy and silver or black and silver or black and gold. I mean, anything that would work with whatever you're up to that Christmas. But I love the idea of these sort of stylized trees. So as much as I thought maybe it was a weird idea, I love that idea now. The other project that we did, which was a little bit of a different one or an oddball, is this, where we took the banana stand and we turned it into an ornament display. So this is one from a class on the weekend where we were doing the alcohol ink and glitter ornaments. So I think that this is a cool and fun way to be able to display either a really special antique ornament that you've got, or if you're doing an annual special ornament every year that you put the special one here, the rest are on the tree. Next year you get a new special one to hang here and display, put this one onto the tree. But I think it's just kind of a fun way of repurposing these banana stands into something that you could use as part of your decor. The last idea was when we had that deer in the platter and we created that kind of mobile display, right? And this is, oh, knocking over trees here, but this is our little display. And this is kind of like a vignette in and of itself, good through the winter because it's not Christmassy per se, it's wintry. And so because we're not using Santas, it can stay through the winter season. But this, I think, is a great way of working around the lack of mantles or a lot of buffet space or credenzas. I mean, if you've got a smaller place, this is quite mobile and able to move around your space as you're using it in different ways. So I hope more than anything else, this gives you some different ideas, different things that you can maybe try for Christmas. I know that often for the holidays, you're looking for a couple of new crafts or a couple of new ideas to try out, something different. Maybe you found something here today. I hope so. Let me know what you think of these ones, guys. Always love to hear from you, and I do look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.